Sometimes I get so mad, there's no controlling me. My thoughts get so bad, I'm like, I might grab a bat, I don't know. My wrath, my blood boils over like, oh God, here goes. I lost all feeling from my head to my toes. You said some shit that I can't let go, so just stay tuned for the rest of the show.
Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers has an active Amber Alert, is 15 years old, is high-functioning autistic, wears glasses and has brown hair and eyes. He is from Hendersonville, Tennessee. He was reported missing on February 26, 2024. He has vanished without a trace. The reward is now $175,000. Please call 1-800-TBI-FIND with any information regarding the disappearance and/or location of Sebastian Rogers. It is time.
Yeah. Sometimes I get so mad, there's no controlling me. My thoughts get so bad, I'm like, I might grab a bat, I don't know. My wrath, my blood boils over like, oh God, here goes. I lost all feeling from my head to my toes. You said some shit that I can't let go, so just stay tuned for the rest of the show.
Hello, welcome to Chevy Cool Lady. Today we are investigating Sebastian Rogers, the mysterious case of the 15-year-old autistic boy who disappeared over 8 months ago without a trace, without a clue, with a lot of speculations, accusations, and insinuations. But today we're going to try to just look at what experts have to say about the early interviews.
We got up and, fun fact, I made breakfast that morning. We had a good time. We were laughing, we were joking. He talked to family on the phone during breakfast to brag. We went and picked up our niece. Yeah, I got a call and asked if I could go and pick her up, and I did. And so we went and did that, and we went to BJ's. Had a good time there. He ate a colossal popcorn. Came home to put groceries away because we bought snacks because, he's 15 and snacks. We went to the bowling alley, and then from there we went to dinner. Came home. He took out the trash because that's his chore. He takes the can to the end of the driveway. About 9 o'clock, told him to go to bed. And he said, come out of his room where he was playing, and he said, all right, good night, Mama. Good night, puppies. Love you. And went to bed. He was doing something in his room because about an hour later I heard some noise, and I was like, I don't care what you're doing in there, but go to sleep. And about midnight, I got up and I went to bed.
We want the parents to speak about the kid in the present tense. We want the parents to be cooperative, so if they get asked a question, they do their best to answer the question and not over-answer, right? So they answer what they're asked, but they're not trying to push a narrative. Third is the parents are inconclusive. So if the parents say 100%, my kid was kidnapped without any evidence that someone broke into the house, or in this case, they say, my kid walked away or ran away without any evidence that the kid did that, it's a red flag. Fourth, if the kid is missing and the parents are on TV, we can expect them to address a kidnapper. So even if they're not sure the kid was kidnapped, they don't know what actually happened, so we can expect them to at least look into the camera and say, if you have my son Sebastian, please return him to us. We won't pursue you. Just drop him off at a police station. Fifth, we can expect parents to address the child through the camera. Since they don't know what happened to their kid, for all they know, the kid is watching. So they'll take that opportunity to speak to the kid. Sebastian We know you're out there. If you're watching this, we love you. We're going to find you. Sixth, the parents ask for help. That's the entire point of these appearances. If the parents don't ask for help, it means A, that they might know the kid is beyond any help. They might know the kid is already dead. Or it might mean they have an ulterior motive. They're not necessarily doing this interview to help find their kid. They're doing it to push a narrative, or they're doing it to clear their own name. Either way, they have some other agenda, and that's not expected if your kid is missing. And seventh, there's a call to action. So if the parents have to be prompted to say, if you see my kid, call 911, or if they have to be prompted to describe their kid or ask for help, it means that, once again, their appearance was not about finding the kid. There was some ulterior motive, and we need to figure out what that was.
I had looked through the house for him because it was typical for him to get up and come and rummage for snacks and things like that. And he likes to dip behind the, walls and watch, and then he comes out after I come back and he likes to scare me. But, after I looked, and mind you, all of this took place in like 1 minute flat, but, I didn't see him in his room. I looked all over. I ran through the whole house. I looked out all the doors and windows, and I was like hollering his name. And I picked up the phone and I called my husband, and I said, I can't find him. And he said, what do you mean? I said, he's not in this effing house. I can't find our son. And I jumped in my car and I drove around the neighborhood, and I drove over by the school, and he's already at this point I was like hysterical, and I was crying, I was screaming. And he was like, three-wayed law enforcement, and was telling them like our son is missing and we don't know what's going on. And he was like, go back to the house, they're on their way. And I drove back to the house, and 20 days later we found him.
He's like, I love you, Mom, I love you, puppies. And he went to bed. And I went to bed around midnight. Everything seemed fine. And when I went to wake him up for school, that's when I couldn't find him. He wasn't in his room, and he wasn't in the house. And that's when I panicked.
And when you panicked, what did you do?
First thing I did was call my husband, and I said, he's not here. My husband said, what do you mean he's not here? I said, he's not in the house. And he said, immediately just started, did you check here? Did you check there? Did you look here? And I ran through the house, and at that point I was hysterical, for lack of a word. And we three-wayed the police, and within minutes they were here. I couldn't tell you exactly how long. I know it was fast. And we haven't found him.
The transcript that I show here is full of words as usual, but I'd like to zoom in on the $10 word. Which one is the $10 word, do you think, on that page? Yeah. Hysterical. Katie tells us that the night before, about 9 o'clock, Sebastian went to bed without any problem at all. Sweetness and light. Good night, mummy. Good night, puppies. Off he went to bed. And about an hour later, she heard some noise and she told him to go to sleep. The next day, she went to wake him up and he wasn't there. And she calls her husband, who says, well, he's probably hiding. Have a look in the usual places. He wasn't in the usual places, and she became hysterical. What I wonder is, under which circumstances is hysteria more likely? Under the circumstances which she describes, or under different circumstances? Katie avoids answering the key question. What happened? And she is determined to switch to expressing that she doesn't know where he is. She will not give us any answer as to what happened. She avoids that question again and again. So for a start, I'm suspicious that something else happened that night. It wasn't good night, mummy, good night, puppies, and that was all. To check here, check there. And in another interview, the only example that he gives of a hiding place is the other side of the bed, which is in the bedroom, of course. So I think that Christopher also expected Sebastian to still be in his bedroom. Perhaps he really was locked in. There's this issue with locks that keeps coming up. But that's by the by. The point is that Katie and Christopher know that something is up straight away. And it's not the usual, well, he might be in one of his hiding places. This has happened before. Let's not panic. This is his usual behavior. No, he immediately goes into check, and she immediately goes into hysteria. Now, what is more likely? That the night before Sebastian went to bed with no problem at all, or that he went to bed following some sort of disciplinary action? He climbed out of the window to dupe his mother. He went to try to get his stuff back, found himself locked out. She hears the thud, by the way, doesn't go and check what's going on in the house, got no shoes on, tries to find his way to his father's house. That's what I think happened. But Katie must have, when she realized that he was not in the room where she expected him to be, she must have thought, wow, I heard that thud at 10 o'clock last night. That is now 6 o'clock in the morning. That's 8 hours. He could be anywhere by now. Which is why I think, and she doesn't mention it here, but in another interview she says she goes for a drive around. That's why I think she goes for a drive, because she thinks, well, he could be anywhere by now. He could have left the house 8 hours ago. And that's why she goes into hysteria, I think. Otherwise, it's for me, that's a little bit too strong an emotion. Now, she says, for lack of a word, she can't put a word on it, but we know what she means. Blind panic, if everything was okay. If she knows that it wasn't okay, she has put two and two together and immediately thought, oh my God, we went too far. On the phone to Chris, blaming him. He's not here, he's not in the house. Christopher reacting, okay, call the police. He knows something's up, and so does she.
Then there was deception. But two major factors that I noticed in the interview was that it was very controlled information. There, you have one parent that was home, one parent, step-parent, that was not home, yet they were in sync with one another very closely. And as many have already observed, and then it became even more so in subsequent interviews, we saw the stepfather controlling things, answering questions for them. And then we learned that 911 was not dialed, but the sheriff's department was dialed, and law enforcement regarding a missing child with special needs is now hearing the information from someone who was hours away, who wasn't there. And I don't know if calling directly to the local sheriff's department is something that would then avoid a recording, but I'm certainly suspicious of that. So you didn't kill him, and you don't know where he is, and these two things I believe. Why are you doing this? Why are you being deceptive? Why, and then the subsequent interviews, why do you have a need to lie? Why did you lead people to believe this or believe people that? And then we listened more, and what we were given was a polishing of an image. When? While a child is missing. And she asked, well, who would care about that? Who would care about polishing an image when all you care about is getting your child back? So I am accused of an armed robbery at a local store, local stop and rob, and they said that I went there and pulled a gun and committed a robbery. So that's the accusation. What does innocent sound like? And what does concealing information sound like? And they sound like two very different things. So as an innocent, and I don't mean that judicially, but a de facto innocence where I didn't do it, I didn't rob the store. Well, we have you on security tape pulling a gun on them. No, you don't. I didn't rob a store. I didn't rob that store. I didn't rob any store. Go review your tape again. Well, why should we believe you? I don't really care if you do. I'm telling the truth. So what I've done is I've made a reliable denial. I didn't rob the store. My pronoun, my past tense, no equivocation. That's very strong. And if someone can lie like that, we've got some big issues. I just panicked. Yeah, that shows a conscience. But someone that goes on and offers something else, we have to listen to. So what does it sound like if I'm concealing information? So I offer to you, in my explanation here, I went to the store to buy bread. Now, the first denial doesn't care. It's none of your business why I went to the store. I didn't rob the store. So I have what's called the psychological wall of truth in front of me, and I'm protected by it. And depending on how far they take this, eventually I'm probably going to just start insulting them and saying, if this is what you're standing on, you're not good at your job. You probably need a new job. And I'm going to be starting to get angry at for me, the innocent, the ridiculousness of it. Now, would everyone agree that pulling a firearm at a store is something you'd probably remember? It's a memorable event. And so at this point, I would not have a need to explain why I did anything. But if I offer that, what I'm doing is I am now placing myself at the store. And I'm explaining why, unnecessarily, I went to the store. Now, if they ask, why did you go to the store? I went to buy bread. That's not sensitive. That's in response to a direct question. It's when it's offered a reason why without necessity either by a question or by a very strange context. So in that interview that they conducted, they repeated that he walked out the door. So it was in the language of both, even though the stepfather is taking the lead. And here's a strange thing. It was, in my estimation, perfectly in sync one with another. You weren't even there, stepfather. You weren't there. What I would expect is less synchronization and maybe some slight off details from another. And the other one could say, no, I went to this room first or that room first. And that's not what we saw. We saw very tightly controlled information. We saw the synchronization of their narrative. And at that time, no deviation from it. The more they spoke, the more we learned and the more we saw. Now, that wasn't true. We also learned that she went to his bedroom at 6 a.m. and she gives the reason why. The reason why. So I tagged that because I don't think any investigator would have said, well, why did you go to his room at 6 a.m.? Of course, I got to go to school. It's a norm. The investigator is more looking for what happened to cause him to walk out the door. And then they mentioned the locking. And what this suggests is there may have been an alternative there of going to his room and looking at the synchronization and then some other statements. To me, to my ears, it sounds like a story. Now, going to the room and to wake him up for school, and then he's not there, what are we led to believe? We're led to believe that they don't know why he wouldn't be in his room. It's a mystery. It's a mystery. We are to believe there is no knowledge of his disappearance until 6 a.m. And those of you that have been following my work on the case, public work, I'm not involved with it at all, because I don't believe that. And I can give some of my reasons. So then the stepfather said something that should look like this on an analyst page. He said that regarding, staying to that, he walked out the door. Staying to that. while his stepson is missing, the man who was not on the location said the $1 million question is why? Now, this is an expression, probably inflation has eroded this question somewhat, expression somewhat, but $1 million question. That goes back to TV time. And it is to say, this is the paramount, this is the top mystery, is why did he go out that door? Now, what would no, I wouldn't even say what would in terms of conditional. What was your first question when you heard about this case? What was your paramount question? What was mine? Where's Sebastian? Where's Sebastian? Now, we may want to look at later on as things begin to get hazy. It's like, hey, what happened there? But when someone offers an explanation of why something happened without being asked, and it's contextually not relevant, what the subject is doing is teaching the investigator where to aim the questions. And I've had this happen to me many times over the years. I wouldn't have even thought of such and such had the subject not raised it. As soon as he raised it, there you go. Unnecessary information, explanation why. I look for an alternative explanation, and more times than not, that's exactly what is found. Here we have someone raising a question as paramount as to why Sebastian walked out that door. Now, it's a rhetorical question. Rhetorical questions are very important in an interview or an interrogation. It is for the subject to attempt to take back control of it, or not allow the interviewer to have control of it, and to preempt questions. So if I say the $1 million question about my missing stepson is why he did this, what do you then presuppose as an audience or an investigator? They don't know why he did this. He is taking control and saying, don't ask me why, because I don't know. And by offering it in a rhetorical question, he is preempting that topic from being raised. That should have been one of the biggest red flags of this entire thing. So now everyone wants to know where. And later on we can talk about the whys, but where is he? This was and is a deceptive statement to feign that stepfather and mother didn't know why Sebastian went out the door. They're not truthful. And this is something that with a skilled polygraph examiner can pick up on. You know, the first two important questions, did you kill your child and do you know where he is? Of course, those must be asked. But this is a signal for an investigation to go, oh, why is that? We all tell our children, I love you. And the children may echo it back, I love you, every night of their lives. It's a norm. It's common. It's a shared experience. So it is not a red flag that someone said, I love you, mama. It is a major red flag that reeks of a very bad relationship, at least that night, between mother and special needs child. It is a need to persuade the public, and it was repeated almost exactly on different interviews. Whereas honest parents will say, you know, we had an argument. It was really bad. And it's my fault he ran off. It's not, where are you, Sebastian? Or are you okay? It's why. It's actually blame shifting as well, which tells us if you need to shift the blame to someone else, we got to look at you. So I do believe they don't know where he is, and I do believe they didn't kill him. But they know exactly what they did. What they did, coordinated via phone, to cause him to be barefoot, without his phone, and locked out. If he ran out barefoot after that trauma, he had to be literally beside himself. Something had to hurt him psychologically that would likely require professional intervention.
Thanks for joining me tonight. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you so much. We're spreading awareness for Sebastian Rogers. Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. Say his name. Keep him in your minds as you travel. Keep his face before you. And let's bring him home. I don't know who did it, and at this point, I don't care. I just want Sebastian home. So, we're spreading awareness. I love you guys. Leave your comments. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.